We don't like this. And so the funny thing is my family never saw any of that.
Mm.
It went right over their head because they all got it.
Yeah.
Because they literally, one of the governing body members got up there and he said, "Oh, there's a lot of conflicting information. So as your brothers, we're going to give you, the accurate information that we have, and you can trust us because
Oh,
we're
yeah,
your
yeah,
brothers and we love you."
yeah.
And the interesting thing is when he said we love you, he was shaking his head no, which is
Yeah.
very telling.
Mhm.
And so he said, it was safe. And then I found out later that you couldn't even get like privileges. That's how they label everything. So you couldn't even like move up or apply to do these things or whatever if you didn't have it. I mean, they were literally holding it over people's heads.
Yeah.
And so I was different and that bothered me. So that was kind of like the first little crack. And then at the 2-year mark, I go, what is going on?
Mhm.
Why are we still shut down? Other churches are fighting in the courts to reopen,
Yeah.
to fellowship. And we're being told, nah, it's cool. Stay home, stay home. And I was like, this is weird.
Yeah.
And so when I said that, um, I said it out loud to my husband, who he was a JW, but he always had like a chip on his shoulder and he
Mhm.
wasn't baptized into it. And so I always kind of kept anything negative to
Mhm.
myself and I just couldn't anymore. And so I said that and I go, what is going on? Why are we shut down after 2 years? And he goes, well, they've been selling off Kingdom Halls, right? And
Ah,
I was
there
floored
you
by
go.
that because we build those. They
Mm.
don't hire contractors.
Mhm.
We are the contractors. And so they get free labor. Imagine you decide to get into real estate
Yeah.
flipping and you don't even have to pay for the labor to do anything.
Yeah.
It just gets done for free.
Yeah.
It's a blessing from God.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
so they get it all for free and then they turn around and they sell it for a profit. And when I found that out, I was like, you're kidding.
Yep.
And then my husband said, and you also know that they were members of the United Nations, right? And I was floored because we are not allowed to be involved in politics at
Mhm.
all. We can't vote. We can't have an opinion. There was one brother that got on the stage and he said that his wife told him he should get rid of a red hat that he had because it could be misconstrued as a Trump hat. And so it was a plain hat and he
Mm.
threw it away because it's like, oh, no, we can't even be that close.
Wow.
And you can't even be on student council in school.
Wow.
And so they're so firm in that. And then to find out that they were members of the United Nations
Yeah.
while simultaneously printing literature that said that the United Nations is the scarlet beast from
Oh,
Revelation.
if it. Yeah. So it's funny too because the Jehovah they are literally sounding like if you read the first chapters of the book of Revelations, Jesus is John is prophesizing about 7 churches that are going to get smoked, right? And this has to be one of the. I mean, if I don't know if you've ever read those or whatever to see one that would speak out to relate to talking about these false doctrines and all this other stuff. I mean, and yeah, being that right there is just. I didn't know that about the UN, but that's Satan, right?
Mhm.
That's Satan's throne room right there. I mean, that's just completely.
Yep.
That's completely anything that runs back to the UN and at a period is that's 100%. I mean, they even made their I think the UN building looks like the Tower of Babel. As to the top as well. So I
Mhm.
mean, there's all kinds of occult symbolism there. I did not know that. My opinion of Jehovah's Witnesses, like I said, I've only known of one. I've never ever had one knock on my door. But my thing was for Jehovah's Witnesses, I'm gonna sound real naive. I just thought they were harmless idiots, man. I was like, yeah, man, they're just
Mhm.
that's just their version. They're there's probably some version of hey, Jesus is the way, but never brush your teeth
Yeah.
again. Something weird like I just thought it was something strange like that.
Right.
I didn't know it was like, dang, no blood transfusions, even if you have to move on, and at the same
Yeah.
time take this.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's like, and for me, the more that I look into this, so when I first woke up, because
Mhm,
all of that happened, and I was like, I'm done. Like I
mhm,
never logged on to another meeting. I never did anything. And I tell people this is like, if they hadn't been shut down for 2 years, if they only shut down for a year, I'd still be in this.
wow.
Like, that's the crazy thing. It's like they shut down and they lost so many members by shutting down.
Mm-hmm.
But we know that they profited off of doing that, not only selling real estate, but they profited off of pushing, the shot as well.
Oh, yeah.
But
We call it the hoo-hoo, the woo-woo.
yeah. And so they 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 really thought that they had more control than they did. And when people got a break, they were able to research, and they didn't have all of that demonic activity happening at the Kingdom Hall, because that's what's going on.
No.
And people don't realize that. And so that's the thing. It's like when I first woke, this has been, a transition. When I first woke up, I go, okay, I've been lied to. This is not the true religion. I did not say this is a cult. I did not feel like that. I go, they're just getting it wrong, and I don't want to be wrong. And so I can't be a part of this anymore. And it's not like anybody enjoys it. Nobody's enjoying all this stuff. They say that when they're in it, but once they get out, they go, no, I never enjoyed it, And so it's true. It's true. And so, they have to put on a front. They've even started this narrative of like best life ever, because people are miserable. And so they don't want you to think, well, that misery is coming from the organization. So it's interesting because I never logged on again and I never did anything. And I was like, okay, it's not the true religion. And I struggled. It was really almost until I started speaking out. And I would ask my husband so many times, like we'd be laying in bed at night and I go, but do you think the governing body thinks that they're doing the right thing? They're just getting it wrong. Like they're just missing the mark, Because people get stuff wrong, know? And he would go, maybe. I don't know. He kind of like shrugged. He would never leave me, like, despite I'm sure what my family thinks. He never like said, you need to get out of this. This is a cult. He never said, because he was awake the whole time. That was the other thing I failed to mention. He was awake the whole time and I didn't know. So he's what's referred to as like a PMO, which is like physically and mentally out. So I knew he had a chip on his shoulder, but I didn't know he knew the whole thing was BS. But he was afraid I would, divorce him, which he was probably right to be afraid of that. I was indoctrinated.
Subscribe now and turn on the notifications to join us on this extraordinary journey into the unknown.